Yo friends, I want to give you a quick tour of the side yard here to show you what I've been working on this past week in preparation for getting ready for its first real season of growing, I think. So last year I pretty quickly figured out that this garden that was already on the property just wasn't going to produce anything that wouldn't immediately be eaten by deer. So I decided to install an 8-foot tall deer fence that I purchased from Deer Busters. So this morning here I've been putting these poles in the ground. The beginning of this project, this back area here gets a lot more sun, so the ground is thawed and much easier to put the poles in than this very frozen, very hard ground over here. The installation process is pretty simple. You just drive this ground sleeve into the ground with a sledgehammer, and then you can just slide the pole right in. So it's kind of like a temporary fence, but frankly, it's really sturdy. It's gonna last 20-30 years for me. Additionally, my neighbor's house is a lot easier to see than in any of my other videos. I recently had a company come and cut down the arborvitae that was running here along our property line. It's a shame to lose some trees that provide nice habitat to wild animals, as well as providing a nice visual barrier between our houses. But the neighbor and I agreed that they were old and scraggly, and at the very, very end of their life, they really needed to come down. He said his father planted them when he was a child. I think he's in his 50s. So yeah, it was time for them to come down. So the current plan is to replace the arborvitae here with a row of different varieties of fruit trees running along that same row, and then I still will have some space in between the trees and the fence, which I'll plant a row of berry bushes, probably goomy berry bushes, because they seem to be the most deer resistant. The goomies are also nitrogen fixing, so I think they'll be really helpful to get these fruit trees going. Once the fruit trees are in their maturity, they'll probably shade out the goomy berry bushes too much for them to really produce. That's fine. They are a wonderful temporary nurse plant. They nurse along the fruit trees to help them get going by fixing nitrogen for them while the trees are still young. I'll probably, when it's too shaded, I'll probably replace them with some more shade tolerant species, maybe like blackcurrant, for example. So fruit trees, berry bushes, and then I have the fence right here, and then right in between the fence and the veggie garden, I'm gonna do about 100-foot row of blueberries. My family eats blueberries in our smoothie every morning, so I mean as long as I have the freezer space for them, I don't think I can grow too many blueberry bushes on this property. So very excited to have a long, long row of blueberry bushes. Well, then I have this veggie garden, which I was already planning on extending back here. There'll be another pole. The end of the fence will be over here. It'll also have some extra side on the far side of that. So this veggie garden area will probably double in size by the time I'm done with it. I'll probably end up removing this 4-foot fence once I'm ensured that the deer fence is also protecting me from groundhogs. So in my mind, I'd have the veggie garden that would expand out here some. I'd have the plant nursery taking up this middle area, and I would have a greenhouse in the back. I typically have pretty good spatial awareness, but I was really surprised when I started setting everything up. These are all of the raised beds that I currently have. This is my entire tree nursery. I can pretty easily grow 700, 800 trees in this space right here. I don't really want to become a big corporation, so at most I plan to maybe double that production. I can't imagine ever wanting to grow more than 2,000 trees a year to sell. That seems like enough work for me, and that would not even cover up this space here, let alone I also have space over there too. I can see in a couple years here having maybe 2 more rows of raised beds. I guess the veggie garden will be pushed even further here, and then this whole back area is fenced in and completely free. I'm not sure exactly what to do with it yet. I think maybe eventually someday I might put a greenhouse back there. It gets a ton of sun year round, so it's a really good spot for a greenhouse. But for right now, it's probably just gonna house that wood chip pile, and that will just feed the soil so that the soil is ready to go whenever I'm ready for it. Now there's some other gaps between like the fence and the path or fence or the end of my property that I want to try to fill in as well, thoughtfully. One of the things I've been thinking here, for example, you know, the fence line comes right here, and I have this hill up to these trees here. This hill gets a ton of sun. The soil, it's very, very well draining soil. It's not that great soil right now. So one of my thoughts was planting maybe 2 rows of seaberry bushes here for 2 benefits. You know, for first one is everything I've read, the seaberry or sea buckthorn will handle that really, really crappy soil. They love the full sun. They love the really well draining soil. So putting them up there just feels like a really good space for them to grow. Plus, they're really, really thorny, and I think that would help maybe prevent deer from just being up there and being in this area. Anything I leave outside the fence, I think will get demolished by deer. So I need to be really thoughtful about planting things that the deer won't eat. As you can see here, I have this path, and there is some gap between the fence and the path. So I'll probably put some things like gooseberry in that gap, and that will be an extra protection too, just in case the deer try to jump this 8-foot tall fence. If there's a spiky plant running in front of the fence, I think it'll slow them down even more. So I have the raised beds. I do also have this area here, which I've put some apple seeds and some American persimmon seeds from some really high quality select fruits here, and so I might add some more beds like this where I just seed directly in the bed and let the plants come up and sprout. It won't really work for nut trees with their big long taproot or like pawpaw. It'd be really hard and difficult to dig them out, but like apples and pears and juneberries, things like that, hazelnuts should be pretty easy to dig out of a bed like this, especially if it has good loose soil. So yeah, I have my work cut out for me. My main goal right now is to finish the fence by St. Patty's Day. There's a saying around here that you want to get your peas in the ground by St. Patty's Day. That's the first thing I'll put in the ground. So I figured if I have a fence by then, my peas would have something to climb up. Other than that, I'm going to be filling these with soil and slowly emptying my fridge of all the seeds that are stored in there and start putting them in the ground here. But I just want to make sure they're protected from deer before I put them in the ground. As always, everything is a little touch and go. You make plans and you roll with it when they change. These arborvitae, I had no plans a year ago for them to come down. It just kind of worked out really well. I kind of stumbled into the idea of it. The neighbor and I were really excited about it. So I'm glad it happened. But yeah, so I'm interested. Part of it, I want to make this video just to see a year from now some of my ideas, to see how they fleshed out and if they came to fruition at all. Let me know in the comments what you're working on this spring, what you're excited about this summer. I look forward to posting more about this progress back here, let you know how it's going.